Snow White and Rose Red. Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage nestled at the edge of a great forest, lived a poor widow and her two lovely daughters. The cottage was small but warm, and right outside its door bloomed two rose trees. One tree bore pure white roses, while the other blossomed with rich red ones. The widow named her daughters after these flowers. The elder was called Snow White, and the younger, Rose Red. The two sisters were as good and gentle as children could be. They were kind-hearted, always ready to help their mother with housework, and treated every creature with love and compassion. In the evenings, especially when snow blanketed the earth, the family would gather around the hearth. Their mother would open a large, leather-bound book and read stories of bravery, kindness, and wonder while the fire crackled and the wind howled outside. One chilly evening, as snowflakes danced outside the window and the three sat cozily by the fire, there came a knock at the door. "Rose Red," said the mother gently, "open the door. It must be a traveler seeking shelter from the storm." Rose Red quickly rose and opened the door. But instead of a traveler, a great black bear poked his head inside. The children were startled. Rose Red jumped back, and Snow White hid behind their mother's bed. The bear looked at them with gentle eyes and said, "Do not be afraid. I am half frozen and only seek warmth by your fire." The mother, seeing the kindness in the bear's eyes, said, "Poor creature, come in and lie by the fire." She assured her daughters that the bear meant no harm and asked them to help the bear shake the snow from his coat. Snow White and Rose Red fetched a broom and brushed the snow off his thick fur until he was clean and dry. Then he stretched himself before the fire and soon felt quite at home. Over time, the girls and the bear became the best of friends. They played together every evening. The children would tug at his fur, roll over with him on the rug, and even rest their feet on his broad back. The bear growled playfully and never once harmed them. From then on, every evening, they left the door open, eagerly waiting for their furry companion. When spring arrived and the snow began to melt, the bear said to the girls one morning, "Now I must go away and will not return for the whole summer." "Where are you going, dear bear?" asked Snow White. "I must guard my treasure in the forest from the wicked dwarfs who seek to steal it," the bear explained. Though the girls were sad, they understood. Snow White opened the door to let him out. As he passed through, a piece of his fur got caught on the latch, and Snow White noticed a shimmer of gold beneath it. She said nothing but remembered the sight. Some weeks later, the widow sent Snow White and Rose Red into the forest to collect sticks. As they wandered among the trees, they came upon a fallen tree. To their surprise, a tiny man with a long, snow-white beard and a wrinkled face was stuck in the trunk. His beard had gotten caught in the crevice of the wood. "What are you staring at?" he snapped. "Come here and help me." Despite his rude tone, the kind girls hurried to help. Snow White took out a pair of scissors and snipped the end of his beard to free him. The dwarf leapt up in anger. "You clumsy creatures! You've ruined my beautiful beard!" He angrily hoisted a sack of gold over his shoulder and disappeared into the forest without even a thank you. Not long after, the sisters went to a brook to catch fish. There, once again, they heard the gruff cry of the same dwarf. He had been fishing and now was being pulled into the stream by a strong fish. "Help me! Do you want me to be dragged under by this wretched fish?" Without hesitation, the girls ran to him. Rose Red grabbed his arms while Snow White cut away the tangled beard. Once free, the dwarf shouted, "You beast! Another piece of my beard lost. Must you ruin everything you touch?" He snatched a sack of pearls and stomped off. Some days later, the girls were sent to town. On their journey, they heard a terrible cry. Looking up, they saw an eagle swooping down with none other than the same dwarf clutched in its talons. "Help me! Don't just stand there." The brave girls sprang into action, pulling the dwarf down until the eagle gave up and flew away. As usual, he was ungrateful. "Now look what you've done to my coat. You've torn it. Useless girls." He gathered a bag of jewels that had spilled and vanished into the trees. The girls had grown used to the dwarf's unpleasant ways. But one evening, as they walked home, they found him again, counting his sparkling treasure in a clearing. Before they could turn away, the ground trembled with a low growl. A huge black bear emerged from the forest. The dwarf cried out in fear, "Dear Mr. Bear, please spare me. Take these 2 wicked girls instead. I'll give you all my jewels, just let me go." But the bear paid no attention to the dwarf's pleas. With a swipe of his mighty paw, he struck the dwarf, who fell lifeless to the ground. The bear then turned to the girls. But instead of fear, they heard a familiar voice, warm and kind. "Snow White, Rose Red, do not fear. It is I." Before their eyes, the bear's fur slipped away like a cloak, revealing a handsome young man dressed in garments of shining gold. "I am a prince," he said. "The wicked dwarf stole my treasure and cast a spell on me, turning me into a bear. Only his death could break the spell. Thanks to your kindness and bravery, I am free." Snow White and Rose Red rejoiced. In time, Snow White married the prince, and Rose Red married his brother, a noble and kind man. They divided the dwarf's treasure and lived happily in a grand castle. The girls brought their dear mother with them, and she spent her remaining years in peace and comfort, surrounded by love. And so, Snow White and Rose Red, who had always shown kindness, courage, and patience, were rewarded with happiness beyond their dreams. And every spring, the white and red rose trees in the garden bloomed as beautifully as ever, in memory of the 2 loving sisters. The end.